here. Oh, no, thank you.
I caught her, introduced myself, and she an organization that helps the veterans through exercise.
So she was running the flag by herself?
Yeah, she was running by herself. That's what she
Did you get her name and phone number? Well, she can find me, grab her number.
Yeah, but anyway.
And then when we get the flag, we'll have to talk to the administrator, because I gave him everything, because he wanted the batter shell to order everything. So, did you talk to her? Well, I agree with what you're saying, like, I mean, anybody, it's going to be impressive. Hopefully people will appreciate it. Well, I understand. Yeah, no, we're moving. Right.
Even though she got up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, but, you know, there are honestly, I know your frustrations. A lot of good things. It's just that the problem I always have is we got to get it all back.
One thing out of the equation, and it all
Well, I'll be listening.
Council meeting Monday, March 11, 2019, 7 p.m. Opening prayer. Mark, thanks.
Lord, thank you for bringing us here this evening. Thank you for the honor and responsibility of conducting business for our wonderful community which you have given us and taken care of us for so many years. Please help us to take care of it in the way that you would see fit. Give us the courage, the determination, and the compassion. Help us to be positive and look at things in ways that for the future, for the better for our children and grandchildren. Give us open ears so we can listen to everyone and a good brain to think about the right things to do. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tim, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Member Kiesling.
Here.
Member Revolt.
Here.
Member Soretta.
Here.
Member Fonte. Here. Member Peters.
Here.
Member Foltz.
Here.
Member Warren is absent.
Motion to excuse, Member Warren.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Warren is excused.
That's her name. Don can't hear you.
Was the volume up loud now? I just want to make sure the volume, can everybody hear us?
Check, microphone check.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, moving on, and real quick before I go into this, the February 2019 financial report was not on the agenda, so we're not going to approve those tonight. So Tim, can you make a note to put that on next agenda?
Yes.
And for your consideration, a motion and a second to approve as presented, council meeting minutes, March 12th of 18.
So
Motion approved as presented.
Second. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this time, we have Mr. William Green, Superintendent, Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities, as here, Disability Awareness Month. Welcome, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, Council. It's certainly an honor to be able to speak to you this evening. March is National Disability Awareness Month, and I wanted to come share the work that the Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities is doing on behalf of the 3,900 people that live in Stark County and the 336 people that live right here in North Canton. The Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities mission is supporting people with disabilities and their families, and our vision for them is that each one will be fully included in our communities. However, there are still attitudinal barriers that sometimes still exist, and we want to break those down. So in March, we provide extra support in getting the word out about the people we support and what they can bring to our communities. Each year, we're working with 700 families that have an impact with a disability. This work takes place in the family home. We also provide preschool and school-age education to 180 students who have intense and very complex needs. Each year we fund services and supports for 1,600 people so that they can live, work, and play in our communities. We are a funder of services. We are a planner and coordinator of each person's life plan. We work with 115 private agencies and 200 independent providers and monitor them to make sure people are getting what they want and need. Finally, we work in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office and the North Canton Police Department to investigate all allegations of abuse and neglect to make sure people are healthy and safe. During this month, we want you to know our name and be able to refer anyone that you know needs support to us. We also want you to know that Stark DD is a trusted partner that thousands of people rely on. We want you to know Stark DD provides vital services and high-quality support to an ever-increasing number of people within our county. We're actually serving 30% more than we were just a decade ago. Ultimately, we want each person with a disability to not only have a good life, but to have a great life. And we want to get the word out about that. So it's been an honor and pleasure to be here with you this evening. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank each of what you do for the North Canton community. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Friendly reminder, 5-minute timer.
I know, even though I wanted to, compliment the city, but that's fine. Larry Tripp, 1127 East Maple, North Canton, Ohio. First, just a couple tidbits about myself. I was a stenographer in the Army, taking approximately 110 to 120 words per minute. had typing skills of about 65 to 70 words per minute. My title with a major tire company was that of an accounting manager, and at Canton, I was accountable up to 35, 37 people under I was accountable for the performance of about 35 to 37 employees. So yes, I have some knowledge and experience with my comments on council clerk's position and destruction of council minutes as we know them today. I too may be old school when it comes to change, not so much because of change, but because those wanting change distort or don't give the complete facts. Thus, my comments, while designed for the entire council, are primarily directed to Ms. Bourne, who's not here, of course, and Mr. Peters, as they appear to be the primary proponents of changing council minute rules. 3 days to transcribe council minutes. I don't believe it, and I say hogwash. This immediately suggests to me this employee was probably not qualified from the onset of her employment, but yet you retained her for almost 5 years. You retained her in spite of public speaks concerning errors and work victims. To the argument, this is going to save the city thousands of dollars, I can only say double hogwash. Right now, Mr. Peters, any savings you may be boasting about are probably and undoubtedly based on an individual not fully qualified, not fully trained, or incorrectly trained by the law director, and not properly supervised by you, since that position reports to council president. Had this analysis of savings been made, let's say in 2013, when this city employed an outstanding council clerk who probably completed her transcription in a day, the savings would be considerably less. But now I understand you're basing it on a court reporter's salary, which really distorts the figure. So anyway, so I don't believe you are comparing apples to apples. Might I be right, Miss? In January, there was a job description posted on the city website for a council clerk, and I'm certain you had candidates apply based on the criteria of this job description. Clerk's position was reposted again, and I would assume based on the same job description. However, 3 months without a council clerk, it appears you are now trying to tailor-make the position of an individual or individuals looking at the law director to do a job rather than based on the job description. Maybe working in the legislative side of North Canton government isn't quite so rosy. Wonder why, Mr. Peters? Treat lightly on this one. Last week, we heard Mr. Revolt offer his concerns of the aftermath of the terminated council clerks, citing a couple of examples of deficiencies. He further went on to say, folks, this place is not running like a fine Swiss watch. Please don't place the burden of the legislative shortcomings on a terminated council clerk. Look at your right, your left, with the exception of Mr. Fontaine, right only. And then to the person now sitting in the clerk's seat, and you will see where the real problem is. What I really believe is that you folks are looking probably at hiring an individual to fill the company, probably taking it from another section of the legislative branch, coordinate her duties with maybe the finance or somewhere, maybe the finance, more than likely, and then have a part-time council clerk and have a few openings for our illustrious law director to share his clerical skills. So people, you aren't basing any savings apple to apples, particularly when you're considering a court reporter, which we've only had since the absence of a council clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address council? Step forward, state your name and address, please.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. I have memory. I'm going to pull this back. That light's coming right through that opening. I have memory here. It's been a year or 2 years ago, Mrs. Keesling making a comment that as a council person, she had never read the minutes of a planning commission meeting. I honestly don't think any of you read the minutes of your own meeting before you approve them. At any rate, I have some handouts here for you, and I'll hand them out after I'm done. The first handout is of a meeting back in March 11th, actually, of 2013, and I want you to look at and compare that with what you've got now. They're night and day. Regarding your meeting agenda for tonight, for some reason, as of late, we haven't been getting a pastor to come on and speak, and I don't know whether we're out there beating the bushes for this or not. But you've generally not listed a pastor doing the opening prayer. The order of your ordinances are not numerical. You've got 11, 12, 13, and then you jump to 20, and then back on the next page, you're back to 14, 15, 16. Government is hard enough to follow and understand without introducing this kind of confusion. I have never seen this in 20 years up here. So why are we listing on our agenda ordinances totally out of legislative sequence? And now you've gone to putting item numbers down and grouping your ordinances by committee. Each one of those ordinances, 12, 13, should have an item number. And then you go on, you give an item number to reports, an item number for reports council, an item number for final call for business, an item number for adjourn. I mean, why are we changing this? Whoever is still in this role, and we know it's the law director, why don't you just look back and see past practice? Government has to have a degree of certainty, predictability. We all need that in our lives. We keep introducing all this uncertainty and confusion. So that's what your agenda is doing there. Regarding ordinance 13, the flag ordinance, I am not in support of that. I'm a veteran. Actually served in 2 different military branches of the government. We don't need an American flag on every single light pole. 2/3 of those light poles up and down Main Street should be gone. They're not attractive. It's just an added expense for the city. And we don't need all these flags. I think it denigrates the flag. I mean, how many flags do we need flying? I'm not sure how many you're purchasing, 150 or something? At any rate, so I'm going to pass out the agenda so you can compare what we've had in the past and actually had for decades and decades. We don't need confusion in government. And then regarding the flag ordinance, ordinance 13, Mrs. Brown asked for a supplemental appropriation. She didn't ask for an appropriation. So I have her request here, and I have an example of an supplemental appropriation that was passed by this group just last November. You break it out where the appropriation or the supplemental appropriation is coming from, the fund number, and what fund it's going into. So I don't know why we're crossed up there between the finance director asking for a supplemental appropriation, and the law director writing it up as an appropriation. And then also the fund number that she lists, and the legislation list doesn't even exist in your budget appropriations that you passed last December.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne, your 5 minutes are up.
I know, you don't want to hear it.
Thank you.
This is not government for the people.
Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Nobody's going to show up because they don't want to watch the circus.
Please have a seat. Okay. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 11-19?
So moved. Second.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton through the Board of Control to enter into a contract for the purchase and installation of a generator capable of providing electricity for the complete operation of all departments in City Hall in the event of a power outage in an amount not to exceed $350,000, given the critical nature of the equipment, declaring the same to be an emergency.
Chairman of Finance, Director Brown.
Yes, as we've talked about, in the 2018 budget, we had some money for a generator. After working with a consultant, we found out that that was not in the ballpark, so we went back out to seek some bids. $350,000 is well over the bids that have been received, and the consultant is analyzing those.
Any other questions for Finance Director? Don?
I was thinking last week we were talking about revising that number to 250. Is that down here lower?
It is that where we're actually appropriating the money, which is an ordinance further down.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to verify.
And the law director and I talked about that last week, but it was decided that because you had introduced these two cases, the 250 and 250, that it would stay that way throughout the process.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adopt second reading?
Motion to adopt second reading.
Sorry, first reading?
First reading.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 12-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yep.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton, upon Board of Control approval, to amend Exhibits A and B of the Professional Services Agreement between the City and Stateville, Ohio, LLC, ordinance number 68-2018, to include code enforcement services and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Finance Director.
Late last year, we entered into an agreement with Safeville to provide our building department services. One option in that contract was to also provide nuisance officer services at an hourly rate. We went back to them and renegotiated that hourly rate to lock that in, and this is adding those services to our agreement.
Questions from council? Is there a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There'll be a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules, ordinance number 12-.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 13-19.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yep.
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton from donations received and pledged for placing additional United States flags along Main Street to the unappropriated resources of the General Trust Fund to the General Trust MSB U.S. Flag account.
Thank you, Finance Director Brown.
Yes, as we've talked about, Councilman Fonte's been out collecting donations and pledges towards this project. This is just now appropriating those funds that have been collected so that he can have a purchase order and buy flags. And to address Mr. Osborne's concern, the reason that you don't see this in the initial 2019 budget is because we weren't aware of this program at the time. So now that we're appropriating it, it's being added in to the 2019 budget or amending that budget.
Very good. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say, I've been getting a few calls. There was a lady running up East Maple the other day with a flag, a jogger, which is unusual to see someone running with a flag. You see that on the back of the flag or something. And she's a big supporter of the veterans. To do exercise programs, help them with therapy. And we mentioned to her when we saw her about the flag fund, which is ecstatic. She wanted to try to come tonight and speak, but she got tied up. So I know this isn't for everybody, but I think by the 4th of July when we have the parade, I believe that when people pass through town, they're going to be so thrilled. And it's a respect. We're not trying to cheapen up the flag. They're not going to stay forever. It's just going to make a nice, solid impact traveling through the city. And honor and respect for the people that fought so hard for our freedoms. Let's not squander them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. I applaud your efforts, by the way. Outstanding.
And it's paid for. This isn't something the taxpayers are paying for. Nice volunteers. I can recite the names again. And there's more people that want to donate. So I'll keep you posted as I gather more cash.
All right. Nice job. Member Bolton.
Just a comment and a question. First of all is, Dominic, I would concur with you. There is actually a very, very famous piece of artwork by Child Assam, which shows flags en masse in New York City. And it is one of the signal pieces of art from the area around World War I. And it really is magnificent. I think this will be attractive. But I do have a question with that, and I guess I would direct this to both Laura. Do we need two pieces of legislation? One, to amend the appropriation, to establish the line, and then a second piece to authorize expenditures from that line? Or can we do it all in one? Because I'm somewhat concerned that we might be dancing against the charter's single subject requirement on ordinances. So I would defer to you on this.
Sure.
Or the law director.
Well, we're not establishing the line. The only thing that, per state law, that needs to be established by council is a fund. This is not a separate fund. This is just an expense line item within a fund. And the finance director, me, or whoever it might be, establishes line items, both revenue and expense, as a regular course of business. That's not something that needs legislative approval.
So you're comfortable that we not only comply with state law, but the requirements of our own charter?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm ready. I move we adopt.
All right, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominic. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading ordinance number 20-19.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
Thank you, and just before I read it, if I may, absolutely there's rationale to question why the ordinances jump from 13 to 20 to 14. But if you recall that this appropriation ordinance was an amendment to a committee meeting that we had, and this was number 20 was the first available. We had gone through 13, 14, 15, all the way to 19. This was an amendment to be added to our agenda. So the first available ordinance number that had not yet been assigned was number 20. And I don't think Mr. Osborne's suggestion that we go back and renumber 14 through 19 again, I think that would probably cause more confusion than simply saying ordinance number 20. I placed it there because it's in the logical progression through that committee.
Thank you.
All right. Ordinance 20, 2019. An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of $250,000 of the City of North Canton funds from the unappropriated resources of the Capital Improvement Fund to the Capital Payments Fund for the purchase and installation of a generator capable of providing electricity for the complete operation of all departments in City Hall in the event of a power outage.
All right, Finance Director.
And like we talked about a few moments ago, this is for the generator, this is just the appropriation piece to that, so it's broken down into two pieces of legislation. This is the actual money aspect, the other was the contract.
Any more questions for the one?
Well, the other one's on emergency. Does this one need to then be on emergency too?
No, sir, because this is an appropriation.
Okay.
Requires a second reading.
Is there a motion and a
Motion
second?
approved first reading.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 14-19?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of North Canton, upon a board of control approval, to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation's cooperative purchase program for the purchasing of machinery, material supplies, or other articles, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Fox.
This is, we talked about this in the meeting of the whole. This is not an emergency, and it basically gives us ODOT power, buying power, so for snowplow, they can use their pricing strategy. Also, salt or other supplies we can buy at the appropriate times to do better purchase power. And so we're joining with them, which we do periodically. So I move that we pass that on first reading on an emergency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 15-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the complete reconstruction of Weber Avenue Northeast, including new contract curbs and gutters, concrete driveway aprons, catch basins, and full-depth asphalt pavement at a total cost not to exceed $1,100,000, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Fox.
Yes, that's a lot of money. That just goes to show how much it costs really to do a total rehab, which means take it down to the base and then build the base. And the average life is 20 years probably after they do it. But boy, it would be nice to have that in the budget. So this is going to be a total rehab, curbs, gutters, catch basins, everything. And it's on an emergency, so we need to bid out or get it rolling as quick as possible. I move past it.
Hold on a second, Darrell.
I just had a question.
Sure.
This goes to Rob. This obviously is a total rebuild. What do we estimate to be the construction timeline on this? When will the job ideally launch, and how long will it take?
Yeah, if it passes tonight, it's set to bid in the repository starting this Thursday. And we'll open bids on Friday, March 29th, right here in this room at 11 a.m. Hope that we would go through Board of Control and award and get a contractor starting based on the schedule in the May possibly. And the completion date for this project was, I think, September 30th. Is what I have. So about 4 months.
So this is about 120 days of inconvenience for the residents of Weber.
It will be a tremendous inconvenience.
Yes.
There's no nice way of putting it, especially if there's very few side streets to park on. So we've already had a lot of talk internally about steel plates. Actually, it's on the bid forms themselves to get people over the curb and securing. And yeah, it's going to be a challenge just logistically to get that many folks in and out in a reasonable
We
manner.
did that on one side as well.
Yeah, we would probably do Parkwood, have to do like the west side, and we get it done, and do the east side.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have we, or are we going to send out letters to all these folks explaining?
We
all
absolutely
the
will.
stuff that
Yeah,
we
that's
do?
standard procedure with any major project that we do. We'll give letters to every property owner on the street.
If you remember when we did Woodside, that was 3 years ago?
Yeah, but
I mean, that was a total reconstruction, and it went very smoothly. I mean, it was tore up for a long time, but, you know, folks,
We'll work with the school district, obviously, a lot of it's over the summer when they're not in session, but yeah, they're challenges. People, which is get upset as folks are, you know, with the current state of the road, get them a little more upset through the summer, and then they'll have something nice come fall. Yeah, confident of that.
Just a comment, there was a time, before many of you were around this table, when we did these projects by assessment. Can you imagine doing this project in this scope if we were assessing the residents new curb and gutter? How unlikely it would be that we could achieve this because of the cost.
Curb and gutter alone is $25 a foot, estimated. So that's not the asphalt, that's just.
You can imagine the cost would be if we didn't do this.
Well, I'd sure like to see a few more streets at least topped. You know, I don't know if we can come up with any more money because I've been driving around. The winter was really hard on it because of that low temperature. It doesn't hold up. The asphalt won't hold up.
Weber was just too far gone to try and save. Since I got here, we've been looking at it. We've been wasting money if we had just ground an inch and a half and put it back.
I'll move we adopt the first reading.
for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for number 15.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 16-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Border Control approval, to enter into a contract for the Northfield Avenue Southeast Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project from Knoll Street Southeast north, 1,650 linear feet to East Hill Street Southeast, including the installation of concrete curbs and gutters, concrete driveway aprons, a storm sewer system, catch basin, and full-depth asphalt pavement at a total cost not to exceed $750,000 and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Schroeder.
Another big number here. This is, we talked about this in committee. It is budgeted for this year. Any questions? So I move that we go ahead and, this will be an emergency then to get into bids, to pass it in the first reading and emergency.
Mark, the money's coming out of what, 3 funds on this one?
I believe so, all 3 of the different funds.
3 funds.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 17-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office for the purchase of water treatment plant chemicals for use by the city's drinking water treatment plant, and authorizing the Mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the purchase of said chemicals and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Schroeder.
Once again, I talked about it last week in committee. This is planned and also budgeted. Any questions? We move ahead with the first reading, and this is also an emergency.
Motion to adopt the first reading. 17-2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 18-19.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 27-2016 to increase the rates for season memberships and daily admissions at the City of North Canton Municipal Swimming Pool, and repealing any and all legislation inconsistent herewith, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Folds.
Thank you. As discussed at last committee meeting, we clarified some issues as far as North Canton residents, non-residents, and kind of combined things so that made it simpler for people to follow the rate structure. School district is no longer a category. Also, as always mentioned, it's cheaper to buy your membership before we open the pool. Still a great deal. And we're building in with the contract with the Y a way to provide capital revenue for the future. So we're excited about that. But since this is a rate structure change, I'd like to pass this only on first reading tonight, then pass on emergency the next meeting that we have here later this month. So with that, I'll motion to approve the first reading.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I have a question as well. Done.
Sure.
Okay, question is,
Oh, yeah.
so you mentioned that it would be more beneficial to the citizens to purchase before the pool opens, right?
Right.
How are we getting that message out? So is it on the website, is it on Facebook?
What's up,
Is it on-
sure.
So is there a way,
Administration.
Kathy, is there a way that we could double check, make sure we blast it out on all the social medias to let them know, the early bird special or whatever you want to call it?
Why does as well?
Okay, the big issue always is communication, so how do we get the message out so that there will be no one come up saying, I didn't know about this?
Even the utility billing mentioned up in there also.
We blast it out that way, that'll help.
Typically does a flyer to put it usually with a full color, but we need the rates passed.
I would blast it out in all medias, put it in water.
They do a good job and they give that deadline. Beverly Burger tends to stay, if Beverly July on that day, there's a line out there.
Can we echo that on our social
Yes.
sites, websites, whatever?
Definitely.
And if I'm reading this right, the early bird goes right when the pool opens.
Usually does, when does the pool open?
Well, that's the pool, if you look at the contract, the pool usually opens the weekend of Memorial Day, but the contract reads the weekend before the weekend of Memorial Day.
Right, so
But that's subject to when the administration's ready to have it open with the Y. So there's not a hard date like before, it used to be an April date, I believe, going off memory, as
Mr.
far as
Waltz,
membership.
I believe the contract says the weekend before, because
Right.
that's when the city agrees to have it ready, but the intention is still to open it Memorial Day weekend, and the deadline is always that Friday prior to Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, so Friday of
So the
Memorial Day,
Lions communicates
Friday
that.
of Memorial Day weekend.
So
Thank
if
you for that
we
clarification.
get the message out, I think then we're in good shape.
Question. You know the Y for its general memberships, of course, these are municipal memberships, but the Y for its general programming as assistance for families and individuals who can afford membership. Is the Y doing anything in this case to subsidize summer swimming for kids, or no? Do we know?
You see the discount if we were a Y member.
You still do
Yeah.
get a
But there's
discount
nothing
for a Y
special
member.
that we're aware of.
No, we've had discussions with the Y about that, but because the city sets the rates,
Got
the
it.
city would have to do that type of program, and we historically have not.
Maybe we could,
In Canton, the Y does have the ability to provide swimming at its indoor gym. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chairman Foltz, you want to forego passing on emergency tonight? Do you want to have a second reading, or do you want to do 2 or 3 readings?
No, I'd like to pass it second reading next council meeting.
Okay, Tim, want to make a record of that, or a note of that, please?
I will.
Just gives an additional meeting for people, our residents away.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
That already on the 25th.
All right, okay, Tim.
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, ordinance number 19-19?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
Quick question, I apologize about the previous one. On the 25th, I don't know that we can ask them who all is not going to be here. I think it's Mark and maybe Jeff, so we won't be able to pass on emergency. I don't know how badly they need it.
Well, we'll have second reading if we have to have a
When do they need it?
special meeting. Yeah, memorable.
If you're interested in having public input, we recognize that there's a requirement time issue. We can have a true one issue, this, on the agenda.
Okay.
That gives you a week.
Okay.
It gives you a week.
Well, give me a second, we got a public meeting.
Yes. So you can do a special meeting for
When
council.
public speak.
And then we got public speaks at that special.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys could allow it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, and you can make a motion.
All right, let's go.
You want to do it at the end or right now?
Well, why don't we do it now?
I'll
Yeah.
move that we convene a special city council meeting next Monday night, March 18th, at 7 p.m.
I'll second.
Or excuse me,
Well, it's
let me
gonna
do this.
follow the committee.
Follow the committee hold it. Follow the committee hold
Second.
I second.
Second. We need a roll call. I'll roll call that. Okay.
it. Or you can go at 6:45.
Let's do 6:45. How about that?
I'll include that in my motion. Amended motion, 6:45, March 18th, special council meeting to consider one item. That is my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Member Foltz?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Yes.
Member Fonte?
Yes.
Member Soretta?
Yes.
Member Revolt?
Yes.
Member Keesler?
Yes.
6-0.
All right, appreciate the scheduling here with everybody. We don't
Welcome.
want
Yeah, thank you for that. I totally forgot that was.
That's wrong.
good catch. Good catch. Very good.
Okay,
Sorry, we're on to the next.
where was it?
Number 19.
Here we go.
I think we need a motion and was it?
He was getting ready to read it.
Oh, you're getting ready to before you have a motion in a second. All right, Jim?
Okay. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton upon Board of Control approval to enter into a management agreement with the YMCA of Central Stark County for it to manage the city's dogwood swimming pool and associated facilities, day-to-day operations for 5 summer seasons and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Chairman Foltz.
Okay, thank you. As discussed last committee, management agreement is changed to a 5-year agreement. Some of the highlights would be providing a revenue fund for future development there, capital improvements. Based on net revenue, that's split between 20% of net revenue from pool operation will be set aside in the city's pool capital reserve account. 40% of it will go to the WISE compensation for obligation contained in this agreement. The other 40% of net revenue then shall be due to the city. So those are some of the highlights. It's a 5-year agreement, so we plan for really some nice capital improvements down the road. Other than that, I think the language is pretty much the same. Pat's not here to keep the water, maybe board, we can weigh in anything else we're going to touch I missed.
That was the main
That was the main
change
one.
from prior years, just extending the term, so like you said, we can have a long term.
And I appreciate your comments. Yeah, the city makes its best effort to have the premise ready to swim on the weekend before the Memorial Day holiday. But we're still going to full operation of the dates on file in the Office of Director of Administration. So that would mean that Friday before Memorial Day weekend. Yeah.
I apologize. I had a question last week, and I wish Patrick was here, but if you'll turn to page 2, section 3.4, safety inspections. We talk about safety in general and sanitation, but we conduct an electrical inspection, all the electrical wiring on an annual basis at that facility. And that's something for you. That is, I believe, something that we should do. It should be required by contract to do.
Okay.
Totally agree.
Well,
I don't necessarily want to amend this, but
I don't think I think they should just
I
be
want to make
quiet.
sure it gets done.
We've had a lot of improvements. I'm sure we're in a good place with previous our electrical operations before, but yeah, I think that's something we should just contract out.
Well, and we do have a pool company that comes in, their name's Hastings, or the Bruxville area, that they come in at the beginning of the season to help get the pool open and make sure everything's running properly, and then they help shut it down at season's end. So you would have to check with Mr. Hill to see if that includes electrical.
Okay, Kathy, could you run the traps on that for us and maybe report back to us at our next meeting?
Okay.
Appreciate the suggestion. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about the agreement? This one I'd like to pass on emergency. So
Saying that, I'll get motion to first reading, first reading.
Second.
19.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading, resolution 3-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Tim?
A resolution requesting the planning commission recommends the city council amendments to North Canton's codified ordinance, chapter 1145, conditional use regulations, section 1145.07, supplemental regulations for certain uses, subsection N, outdoor dining, such that outdoor dining restrictions shall be placed or based upon what is appropriate for the circumstances presented to the planning commission in a conditional use permit application and adjudication hearing.
Thank you. Chairman McKeesman.
Yes, this is a resolution we're going to send out to the meeting as it states, asking for them to reconsider the ordinance regarding outdoor dining. It seems a little too restrictive. We're asking that they look at it, base their recommendations, trying to decrease the restriction and look at each case by case. I will just go ahead. Carol.
I just wanted to call everyone's attention to the two final words of the short title, adjudication hearing. This goes to our controversy about oath taking and making. It is required by statute that an oath be taken on a conditional use. So that's why it's there, and individuals who appear before the planning commission will be required to take an oath.
Are they aware of that, hopefully?
They will be made aware of it.
Yes, they're aware of that, and in addition, they're subject to cross-examination. Evidence is presented here because it's a valuable property, right?
I, again, motion to adopt.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. At this time, we need to appoint the 2 members of council to our Housing Council committee. We're going to appoint 2 members. We're also going to name an alternate. So what we'd like to do is appoint members Foltz and Soretta, with the alternate being member Revolt.
Well, perhaps you should make a motion.
Oh,
I
yes.
will motion that we
Thank
appoint Doug Foltz
Wait
and
a
Mark
minute.
Soretta to the Housing Council Committee and name Darrell Revolt as the
Alternate.
alternate. I was going to say Monroe.
It's actually
Yeah.
Would you repeat it again before writing it down here?
Really?
No, just the members, Foltz and
Soretta.
Foltz and Soretta.
as members.
As
Members.
And Darrell's a runner-up.
Yeah, the alternate.
Yes, Revolt is runner-up. Thank you.
That was a motion. Is there a second?
Those minutes better read alternate.
Sorry.
I'll second.
All right. Is there a roll call on that, Tim, or can I just voice?
I'll roll call for it.
Runner-up?
Member Foltz?
Yes.
Member
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Member Fonte?
Yes.
Member Soretta?
Yes.
Member Revolt?
Yes.
Member Keesling?
Yes.
6-0 in favor.
All right, thank you. Reports, Deputy Director Freeman.
Thank you. Okay, a couple things just to discuss. On the tech side of things, we are finally complete with the phone department transition to the voice over Internet protocol phones. So some bumps and bugs along the way, but we worked it out, so that's done. We're also doing a total equipment inventory with a replacement plan throughout the city. The way it was done before was the computer went out, we called, everybody just kind of replaced. We have now a more organized plan where we have an entire equipment inventory list that shows every device, the year, who it's assigned to. So that way we can kind of see who are the older ones and let's get those replaced. And we can plan and budget more appropriately to how many we're going to do per year. So just, I think if it's a little slow, we won't just run out, buy these all ad hoc. We have more a plan to that with our vendors at that. Also looking at all sorts of equipment and technology, and just like in here with all the multiple forms and the sounds and we're just kind of working on that, so important, with all of our equipment throughout the city. A lot of other things going on in administration, positive projects. Our team, if you haven't had a chance to meet, our newest team members, Kelly and Linda, take a moment, stop by, they're doing a great job. A lot of the great community events everyone enjoys in the spring and summer months, that planning happens now. So they have been working with other community groups. We have first coming up the Memorial Day Parade with the Lions Club and the memorial ceremony. And what they're going to do is, while these aren't city sponsored, we do want to work and collaborate with these community groups to breathe new life into them, make them more exciting. They've kind of been the same way for a long time. So stay tuned to how they're going to be this year. So then we'll move into June, working with the North Canton Eagles on the Mayor's Fishing Rodeo at Price Park. We do that every year. July 4th parade, we do that with the North Canton JCs. We also have other community groups like the library and the YMCA. Just a great collaboration going on. We all just share that goal, providing this community great events to make great memories. So we've got good teams going there. We've got some new things coming up too. We have a new beautification committee, which Larry Tripp's part of that. We're working with our wonderful women from the North Canton Garden Club. We're also working on a community cleanup with the ladies from the North Canton Garden Club, as well as a local church that wants to put their hands together and spend some time, again, making our city beautiful. We just have so many great things going on. We have the newsletter coming out, which I think you're going to really enjoy. It's going to the printer today. Went to the printer. It's got a lot of information. It's a big one. So let's see, what else do we have? I think we've got just so many projects, even more, that too early to kind of talk about. So,
Kathy, with the new voiceover program protocol, do we have one number you can publicly say it's the best way to
well, the
reach
police
the
department
city?
has retained their 330-499-5911 because most of the community knows that's our local North Canton police number, and they wanted to retain that number. You can still call the main 499-8223, and there's an option pressed to be transferred to the police department, but we kept that line, reported that number as well.
Okay, so you're basically, if I ever want to call for anything in the city, I just call one number, hit 1 to get, or 0 to get operator.
Right. Our main number still is that one call does it all.
Okay.
We'll always patch you through to any department once you listen to the audio attendant, but they do still keep their 591 because people know that number. On their business cards and in so many places, we didn't want to not report that number. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Engineer Graham?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank council for the Weber and Northfield legislation tonight. As I mentioned, we're ready to go with Weber. We're going to open bids on the 29th, and Northfield's not too far behind that. Also wanted to mention that before tonight's meeting, we had a board control meeting at 6:30, where we awarded kind of our first wave of projects for the year. And as we've talked, that's the Price Park Patch Phase 2, the Watkins Laurel Water Line, and our 2019 street program. Hopefully as that good weather and asphalt plants open, we'll see working nuts on all three of those. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I have two items. Typically what we would do every 3 years, and this goes back to our performance audit, where they made the recommendation to send out a city survey. And so historically we've done it every 3 years. And the last time that we did it was in 2016. So that would mean that we would do it again in 2019. What we try to do is have the same questions, and we'll make adjustments or modifications if we want to add some or delete some based on the response we've had. So as we're preparing that for this year, typically I think we're planning on having it go out in the summer, or at the beginning of the summer.
We're working on it now. Another thing.
And so if there's any questions that that any of the council members would like to see in the survey, we don't want to go and revamp it, because what we do is we use that as a consistent basis to see what type of responses we've had, when we first had it, and then the second time, third time, fourth time, so that we can start to see a trend where the city's strengths are at and where the areas are that we need to improve. So take a look at the survey. Kathy, if you could send all the council members a copy of the earlier survey, and you can take a look at it and any questions.
We were going to also kind of change the questions a little bit, maybe keep some of the old, but add some more specific, instead of just, do you like your piece of fire? Yes, no. It doesn't tell us. More of an open-ended. So we're going to put, again, breathing new life into it. And we're probably going to do it more online, gear people to the online way, but then we may have a component to it. People who don't want to go online. It will be a hard copy way. Yeah, I can do this.
That'd be good. And then the other item that we have is that when we put together the Gold Star Memorial this past summer, it was really a great success. And at that, right around that time, and this actually goes back to 2014, where they started to recognize Purple Heart recipients. So anybody that was wounded on the battlefield, a man or woman that was wounded on the battlefield, or paid the ultimate sacrifice with their life, they're a recipient of the Purple Heart. And during that time, it was actually just before we had the Gold Star Memorial, they were asking if they could, somehow incorporate that in the Gold Star Memorial. So recently we had a call from Dr. Tim Novelli, and also the chairperson for the Purple Hearts Day, which is August 7th of every year. So this August 7th, which is Wednesday, it's Purple Heart Day. And so we thought about incorporating that with the Gold Star Memorial, so that every year, since we have a beautiful memorial, and we've had such a nice response from all the family members and the veterans of the Gold Star Memorial, we would also incorporate that with the Purple Heart recipients. Because all of the Gold Star family members, the person that had died is also a recipient of the Purple Heart. So with that, Dr. Tim Novelli had called and wanted to, how we have the flags down there at the Gold Star Memorial, he wanted to add a Purple Heart flag to the memorial, and so he asked if I could contact Dominic, and because you've been the lead with the flags. He said that it would be, we have to take a look as far as the electrical with the city, but he said approximately $5,000 to add another flag. That's signed and incorporated the Purple Heart.
So it's not just the flag, it's the pole, the lighting,
Yes.
all that, stainless steel, whatever.
And so I'm sure Brian Hill can, let you know, what the approximate cost would be. But again, we would then use August 7th, which is Purple Heart Day, on Wednesday, and that would be, an annual event.
So maybe we could get it organized by, install it for, right before the Saturday.
And we'd tie them all in together on that day. Gold Star and Purple Heart. August 7th, Wednesday, August 7th. And it's August 7th every year.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor. Finance Director Brown.
Just a quick reminder, next Tuesday, March 19th, is our Rita Tax Day here in Council Chambers. So if anybody in the community needs assistance with their city tax return, they can come in. That's a free event, and it is first come, first served from noon to 7 p.m. That's all I have.
So city taxes, right?
12 to 7. Noon to 7.
And that's city taxes only, not
City
federal
tax
taxes.
return.
Okay, thank you. Member Foltz?
No report.
Member Surratt? No report. No report.
No report.
Member Fontaine?
Last week we talked about the Rotary Group. We've been having some conversations. I talked to them a few times, and they really want to be helpful in the city, along with the Lions Club and other clubs. And we were thinking if the city would be interested in purchasing a membership, and we could rotate members or whoever periodically to go to the meetings or breakfast, so that we could keep them informed. Because really, what the big thing is they really don't know what's going on. They want to know what's going on because they spread a good will, plus they're very generous. They want to spread more money to, be part of the city activities. So I think I'm asking if the city would be willing to buy a membership. I was talking to Brent Singer, and he said that they're working on a plan where, instead of just one membership, we could just have a membership and rotate individuals. So there's no big burden on any one person, but we can all take turns just bringing people up to speed on what's going on. And then the other thing that I ran into a little bit this week was a few complaints about Everhard Road where the tracks are. A lot of people think that's North Canton, although it's county. Rob, you can talk on it a quick minute, but basically that's gonna get fixed this August once they do the road, and then Rob, if you can add anything about that.
Yeah, the complaints are at the railroad right away, which is actually the city of Canton. That was part of their annexation a number of years ago from 38th Street up to the county line, the city of Green. And later this summer, actually starting August 5th, Everhard Road's going to close for the replacement of the McDowell Ditch or Zimmer Ditch Bridge. It's just east of the railroad tracks inside the city, and the county is going to have a 60-day closure starting August 5th. And when the Everhard Road is closed to traffic, Akron Metro RTA is going to come in and repair that crossing within their 60-foot railroad right away, because it is a disaster. As part of the project now, I think the county's contractor does patch the holes once in a while. And I mentioned it tomorrow at our progress meeting to keep it sort of smooth and drivable. But it's a mess. We all know it's a mess. Akron Metro is going to come in and patch it when there's no traffic, when we're doing that adjacent bridge.
The city of Canton is responsible for that, right?
Canton and Akron Metro. Yeah. Yes, it's outside the city.
But everybody thinks it's ours, because I get calls out all the time.
I'm sure you explained to them that it isn't.
I explained it to them, and I'm explaining it now so that you're all aware of it too. Because you're gonna probably get called as well. And then Rob gets the call, and Pat gets the call, and everybody else gets calls. Right? Right, and Engineer Rob?
Yep, and so, yeah, we can get with the city, and also the city of Canton, and also Akron Metro is going to replace it later this summer, the whole crossing.
Right, so it's gonna be like Everhard Road, it's beautiful now, so it's gonna be nice. Just in time for the little bit.
Can I conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
One question, when are we going to close that?
August 5th.
Yeah, they're gonna,
Just right after the Hall of Fame, I take it?
exactly. It's the Monday, August 5th, and that's the Monday after the Hall of Fame event. So it's Concert for Legends on Sunday night, and Monday, or when we found, is when the county's going to close it for 60 days.
Awesome. Okay, a quick overview of our March, April meeting schedule. Next week will be our Committee of the Whole meeting. Also, we will have a special council meeting prior to that at 6:45 to do the pool legislation, pool rates. March 25th will be regular council meeting. April 1st will be Committee of the Whole meeting, and that will be held at Walsh University. And then April 8th, regular council meeting. April 15th, Committee of the Whole, and April 22nd, regular council meeting. Okay, with that, for final call new business, I'm going to ask the Finance Director to quick synopsis on the council clerk position, where we started, where we're at, and where we're going.
Sure, thank you. As was stated by someone earlier tonight, I don't know, I lost track. The job was posted in early January and then was reposted through, I believe, February 8th was the closing date on that position. We did receive a number of applications. In fact, we received over 300 resumes and applications for that position. It was put on several websites, which drew a lot of attention. Throughout that process, myself, Kathy, and Shanna, the Deputy Director of Finance, went through those applications and resumes, reviewed them. I reviewed every single one personally. And any ones that were promising, we called in for interviews. I believe we interviewed a total of 3 people out of the 300.
Wow.
And then 2 of those people we forwarded on to council, to 3 members of council who interviewed 2 of them. One of those individuals was someone with about a year of clerk experience. The other individual did not have direct city council clerk experience, but had some other experience that made her an interesting candidate. At that point, council was mulling things over.
Laura, can I stop you there real
Yes.
quick, just for the public's information. The 300, when we posted that on Indeed.com, of those 300, we had some pretty wild.
We did.
We had some truck drivers, and they were just throwing resumes out.
Indeed, casts a wide net.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we
they
had-
weren't just specifically looking for clerk position, they were just throwing a resume out there for any open job.
And we did have a number of people who had skill set that fit with the clerk, administrative assistants and various things, and that was the ones that we considered, more closely. But we had a funeral director, we had forklift drivers, we had a little bit of everything.
I just want to get a little framework.
Yeah, absolutely. So we came down to those 2 candidates that several council members interviewed. As you were mulling those over, through some internal discussions that we had, I kind of had another idea of, you know, if you're going to bring a person in who doesn't have clerk experience and there's going to be a training period, you know, what about the option of training someone internally and maybe using some of the city staff that we have and reallocating duties and looking at that option in conjunction with, you know, we've had our court reporter here doing the verbatim minutes and we can continue to do that and we know what the cost on that is. So I presented that idea to council and you guys had some time to think about that after the executive session. And so, you know, now it's obviously up to you to decide what you'd like to do.
All right, so I'll open it up for discussion, and I guess I will start on this. And when Laura brought the idea to us about handling it in-house, I was intrigued, not only in the cost savings that will be real if we go this route, but the fact that we had a member of our staff, our current staff, that was willing and able to take on and looking forward to new challenges and take on a little extra burden. And I believe that she is more than capable of doing so under the direction of our finance director and our law director as well, helping her along the way. I think we can make this work. And
Member Peters, since we have, if I may, I apologize, but we have someone in the gallery appears to be poking fun at this suggestion. And so I want to make clear one of the statements that this one that is poking fun right now had said that it was ridiculous to think that a clerk spent 3 days of a week doing meeting minutes. But this individual, I'm sure there's no reason to be aware that the prior clerk that he feels so fondly of and did a tremendous job for us and retired in a position, highly competent individual, he has no idea that that person had an assistant clerk that came in 3 days a week, and the sole purpose was to do meeting minutes. How about that?
How about that? You are so darn good, Mr. Moss.
Mr. Tripp.
One of the best.
Mr. Tripp.
Absolutely
Larry.
one of the best.
Larry.
Oh, he
You're out of order. You're out of order. You had
He's
your time.
not.
You had your time. Would you like to?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me go myself.
Yes, please.
Pull me out, sir. What a crock.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, so yeah, you are correct. There was an inordinate amount of time done on verbatim minutes, and the cost savings that I was speaking to, and Daryl and I kind of talked a little bit back and forth during the last meeting, was going from a verbatim to a summary style format, and that would save some time and money as well. And you know, I don't think we really talked about exact dollar amount, but I mean, I think it's going to be, I think it will be significant.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about in this idea is, you know, when you have the court reporter here, her sole role here is to take record of the meeting. Whereas when you have a clerk here, that person's role is to obviously take some records, but also run the equipment, read the legislation, and do other things. So there's more to it. So by splitting that up, and you know, you have those of us, Tim and I, who are here anyway, you know, we attend the meetings just by virtue of our normal role, to kind of put some of those responsibilities on us while you have the court reporter doing the straight, you know, minute taking, as it was. It kind of splits it up and gets it done a little more efficiently, perhaps. And it's something that, you know, as I pitched it to you guys, it's an idea. We can try it. If it doesn't work out, we can go back to the pool of applicants.
Okay, is there any other input from council regarding this?
After discussing it, I found it intriguing. I think it's a good idea to give it a try. We can always go the other way and go back. I think the cost savings and giving someone some additional responsibility that are already here, someone that we respect and trust, is
I imagine after a period of time, if it doesn't work out, then we're back to square one anyhow. So it may work itself out, it may save us some money, it may be a win-win in the long run.
Yeah, I would just, cameras. My preference would be to have full-time worker. But having participated in the interview process, I've concluded this is the best option we have. And it warrants, it's an intriguing proposal, warrants an experiment. There's a high degree of confidence in the individual that has been identified. And I think we can make a run of this. One of the differences between the past and kind of present is that currently we're transcribing.
Can you speak into the mic?
I'm trying.
We can't hear you.
I apologize. I'll get a little closer. We're transcribing both the council meeting and the council whole meeting. And I think that takes an inordinate amount of time. I don't know how we got to that practice, but using the court reporter to pick up the transcription duties is not a bad way to go. And I think the other thing is that it allows us to perhaps use the clerk, which we've discussed, for some other kinds of things. If there's time to support some research activity, et cetera. So this may be a good experiment. I'm trying to think out of the box.
What is exactly is our intent with minutes?
Well, we're going to keep it as is for now.
We're going to keep the court reporter
Yeah.
while we trial this option. We've all come to that agreement.
I would think that would probably be the best way to go about it. You don't want to upset the apple cart too much. I mean, we want to make sure that the bones are solid. So I don't want to throw that on to anyone else.
I think the other thing is this, is that we've also discussed, it's important to this on the record, that we recognize that it was knowledge is needed, that we've got some back office issues that we've got to take care of in terms of our record keeping, and so hopefully those issues, as things unfold and the new individual gets in, we'll be able to devise a plan to address those matters as well. I'm not sure we're going to have enough time for the current proposal, but I think we're aware of the fact that we've got some housekeeping we can address.
Mr. Revolt, if I could to that point, I wish Melanie was here tonight. She spoke last week about, sort of a legislative audit, and I did check. The state auditor's office doesn't offer anything like that. I haven't found anyone who does yet. That's not to say that we won't. But if there are things that residents or council people see that they think are wrong or just different than it used to be, they're more than welcome to put that in writing and submit it to me. I want to take it under consideration as we try to develop this person in this role and plan, that, we're kind of creating our own path and saying, this is the procedure we'd like to put in place. This is the process that protects us from making errors. And I guess that's because my world in the finance world is you do things by a process. Everything's kind of written down and documented. So, if we can create that process from the ground floor, hopefully we can just, follow it week by week by week. So again, if there's somebody that has a suggestion or a recommendation, if you want to submit that to me,
Well, I think that's a critical point, is that while we're creating this position, we're going to take a structured approach to these duties in the administration of management of that candidate.
And I guess to be frank, what I don't need is just things are bad and people have done things wrong. I think we're all aware that that's been said, and that's fine. I accept that people feel that way. But if there's constructive criticism or recommendations, I would welcome that.
It should be like anything new. It'll evolve. We need to know what to do, and if that's not working, change it.
Yep.
We need to know what we need, and then structure the position to what we need to make us operate to the highest level that we can. So let's make changes, and we'll go through some growing pains. There's got to be that, but we'll get it right.
Can you take some public comments now?
No, sir. Mr. Foltz?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you. I prefer a full-time clerk, but I also respect the work that our finance director has looked at, the interviews, the candidates, some other administrative personnel, and then this council. So if this is our best option, I'm going to support that. My only concern would be I want someone available to answer the phone. I don't want a recorded message and get back to you later scenario. I think we owe it to our residents to have somebody in the office, or at least have somebody pick up the phone and direct somebody to go somewhere else, or to help them fulfill their questions or needs on the phone. I'm also in favor of keeping the court reporter. I think she's doing a great job, and I think it's important. So while we transition into this position, I think those are very important things to look at and to maintain. So I appreciate everybody's work on this. Thank you.
There was a contingency plan on the phone.
Well, and I was going to say, back to Kathy's point about the voice over IP phones, we have an ability to kind of route calls to any handset that we need, so I can work with her on that setup as far as what we can do with that. And, you know, we do have some options there as far as mailboxes and things.
And just to add, I think the candidate that we're talking about is an excellent employee. I've known her for a number of years, and Lori should know her obviously better than anybody here. So I think that's comforting in that sense, to know that we have somebody great to step up and help us.
You know, I think, if I might, Mr. President, I think the other thing that Patrick's attempted to do by moving everybody up into the north side except finance is that we're looking for that integration. While we recognize there's a separation of powers under our charter, we're looking for the employees to be integrated and work as a team. Again, it's critical if we're going to comply with the law. We've got to have people who are not confined to silos, but willing to identify problems and chase a solution. And that means won't be walking down the hall to the administration or what have you. I think this candidate has that ability to reach out. She's known quantity, will work with the entire management team.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, one thing that we found in the transition, like administratively, and you can also see it reflected in the employees that work with the council, that when you've had long-term employees that have been here for 25, 30 years, and then they leave, oftentimes they take all that knowledge and that process with them. And then what happens is, if you don't have it captured, like in writing or in a structured process that Laura was talking about, then you find yourself trying to, you know, piece one together based on, you know, the documents that you have and so forth. And then that's when mistakes start to occur. And so what we've done administratively is Kathy Farina has put together like a process, established a process and a checklist. So when we're talking about sending out something as simple as a public notice, well, who exactly is it going to? Who is it required to go to? In what format? Is it through a fax? Is it through an email? Is it through the repository, the Akron Beacon Journal, WHBC? So there's certain requirements that have to be met, and then there's certain steps that we've just informally taken over the years. So the good thing is we've established that process as Laura's talking about, and then whether you do this in, you know, in the short term, as council's suggesting, or you make a change in the personnel, you know, at some point in the future, at least you have that structured process so that, you know, those mistakes, really, you know, you're eliminating that, those particular oversights, which has worked well on the administrative end too.
To add to that, it's just things have changed so much with the evolution of technology that in the past it may have just been you did a press release and then you walked over there and you put a push pin into the bulletin board. Now the expectation is it needs to be on the website and it needs to be pushed out through text notifications. And so, you know, there's just a few more steps. So to make sure that we don't miss any steps, we created a checklist. So it's what meeting, what date, where's it going, public notice out, was it put on the website, did the notification go out, also still goes there, you know, the hard copy, and then, you know, press release and who it went to. And then you have that record. Anyone comes back and says, you know, what did you do? You say, here it is. Follow that back. Because we are all doing so much now, too, that it's easy to drop a step. So now we have a checklist on that. It's great to have the same processes.
since our prior clerk has retired, I have been signing the minutes and attesting to the minutes since I do sit here. So as part of the plan, that was, still going to be the case, that I would be the in-name person to sign and obviously have oversight, and then we would have folks in the office to do the work during the day.
Now, Tim, do we need any sort of legislative action to designate Laura as?
That would be your vote, simply as a legislative vote. It would be an ordinance or a resolution. It would be councils, you can voice vote on this, but essentially it's what you have right now is the finance director, as per the charter, has the charter authority for these duties when the clerk is unavailable. And now what's available for council is to continue that the director of finance will also be the clerk of council, and the duties shall funnel through her. There's an employee that she believes has those skills and so forth that we discussed, and so that employee is going to be responsible for the lion's share of the day-to-day work with myself and with council members and administration, but it will funnel up through the director of finance, who will sign those documents. And until we move to the Civic Center, I'll still do the technology and so forth. I think it's just a learning curve to learn to get this wireless technology. There's many people aren't aware for when you sit here, there are 4 monitors, there are 3 keyboards, 3 mice, 2 remotes. We have a digital recording, we have the live streaming, we have thrown it up on the big screen and all of those other things. When we move to the Civic Center, all of those items are going to be available at the dais. So then the law director will return to the dais, and between the law director and the finance director will oversee the clerk's duty in a bit of a shared capacity.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, sounds good. So any other questions, concerns for, yes, sir?
Well, I think to come back to Tim's comment, in some juncture, you're going to need a motion to, by council, my recommendation would be a motion from council to assign the duties of clerk pursuant to the charter to the director of finance and authorize her to appoint staff to support council.
Spot on.
That's what you're going to need.
Can I consider that a motion?
With an appropriate level of compensation. That is the motion. And, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Is there a
Did
second?
you catch that?
Is there a second?
I'll second, but explain to me what we are doing.
Okay, let me.
We're out of committee, I know we're not appropriating money, but,
Here's what.
I don't feel like.
Here's what we're going to, consistent with our discussion.
Louder.
I am moving that consistent with the charter, council authorize the director of finance to act as its clerk and to assign her staff to support her in the council's operation. Close.
Compensation.
And to compensate that individual appropriately.
Okay, I got that. You still didn't answer my question. It wasn't on our agenda, I feel like
I'll offer this up in final call for business. I want
okay.
Laura to give us per the charter, someone to handle clerk duties. So this is basically a voice vote allowing that to happen.
That's fine, as long as it's appropriate.
Sure, there's no legislation appointing finance director or the law director. It's a vote of council.
I would argue, to answer your question, that we are acknowledging the simple text and spirit of the charter.
Yeah, we are. I read it
It's really
tonight.
what we're doing.
We can assign it to anybody we'd like.
Yes.
So what's the end result here? Do we have it or not?
So what we're saying is, as law director, comfortable with this process occurring for the charter?
Yes, sir.
Obviously.
I'll work with the clerk and go over as well with the finance director for the duties and responsibilities, preparing the agendas, the drafts for legislation notices to the repository, and I believe some of the role, perhaps civil service role. We've discussed informally that might be more appropriate perhaps as an administrative task, because all of the civil service positions are in administration. It's for police, fire, EMS, and dispatch. And perhaps that role, it's a smaller portion of the clerk's duty, and I think it was assigned simply because there was a clerk for those types of meetings. But to schedule the exams, the lists for the mayor for selection for open positions, and accepting the applications, those things, perhaps that's best suited for administration. And the other types of duties will funnel up through from the finance director. The technology portion simply that we've created here, where we live stream, we have a digital, those types of things. The finance director and I will take care of those responsibilities when we move, because they'll be right at the dais. And until we move, since I've been growing more accustomed to this menagerie of technological equipment with Laura kind of overseeing this, she's quite adept at technology. She helps me when it all locks up and it doesn't work right. But I think she and I can take care of that portion. And the day-to-day duties, there won't be the need for that clerk to appear in the evening. It takes quite an additional burden from that clerk to know that she's going to have a 12 or 13-hour day every Monday. So removing that responsibility enhances the attractiveness of the position, as well as removes some of the necessary compensation when you're going to have someone here till some evenings, 9, 10. We've been here till almost 11 o'clock on evenings where we're going over line by line of the budget. So when we're looking to compensate an employee for those additional hours here at City Hall, when we remove that, where the finance director and the law director are already accustomed to that, I think it makes it a more attractive position, and there's a financial component that perhaps is reduced when you take that into consideration.
Okay, so, that answer your question, Marcia?
Which chapter?
I got it. We're good to go.
Okay, so Daryl motion, is there a second?
I did second.
Okay, do we need a voice vote or a roll call, Tim? Yeah, well, let's do a roll call, I think that'd be appropriate. Please call roll.
Yes, sir. Member Soretta.
Yes.
Member Revolt.
Yes.
Member Kiesling.
Yes.
Member Fonte.
Yes.
Member Peters.
Yes.
Member Foltz.
Yes.
6-0, with Finance Director as the Clerk of Council.
Okay, now we got that ball rolling, that concludes the agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Really, I don't think I can do it, but I mean,
This violates the charter.
it does not. No.
You too, don't. You too, man.
It does not.
This is wrong. You're violating the charter. You're just putting this water in there as a front. You're violating the charter.
Night, guys, thanks. Bye.
I'll see you guys.
We'll see what my attorney says. This is wrong. But you've said a lot of things haven't been your preference. Our annexation policies haven't been your preference, but you continue to play the game. And that's why the city is going to die.